Good afternoon, traders. Joseph here from Eightcap. Welcome to this week's market wrap. So we will get to crypto. There's been a couple of things happening today with cryptocurrencies, but we'll start with some of just a bit of a recap and some of the things that have been happening today. So some of the talk overnight has been some from comments from Fed members. So from Weller, with rates may need to raise rates beyond December's central tendency view of 5.1 to 5.4%, and that's if things don't improve and if they continue to see issues in the jobs market. And Bostic said as well they have to do more given high inflation, and they do believe though that he does believe in 0.25% rises, and policy should begin to start showing some bite during hopefully they think during the spring. So we will continue to see rate rises, and inflation still does remain high, but I suppose the question is 50 points maybe are off the table at the moment unless there's something pretty big that comes out to reaffirm that. And I think the market sort of has given us a little bit of a answer yesterday when we saw stocks rise despite the negative talk, and we're looking at the USD index at the moment. So it's on the 12-hour chart if you're wondering. So the 12-hour chart basically cuts the day in half, so you have two bars representing really the Asian session and then the European and the US session. So no real reason for that, just something to look at from a different perspective, basically, just to have a look. So you can see this week that the US dollar has it's had a pretty mixed week. We've seen a bit of downside and some upside, and this has also been reflected on risk currencies. So we can see the Aussie here had a nice day and a half decline, and today we're seeing a bit of buying. Now the inflation estimates for the EU came out higher than expected, so 50% rate rise is forecast, and it didn't really help the euro yesterday. I'm not sure, the dollar was firmer yesterday, and the euro and the pound didn't have the greatest of days yesterday. We saw a pretty good fall on the pound. There was a bit of a trend continuation here. You can see the break of the short-term support and went back down and tested this support area. We spoke about this level this morning. We are wondering if we will see a hold here. We've seen two previous holds so far, so we're wondering if this will confirm as the third. A break at that level could set up a new test down to 1.1859, so definitely keep an eye on this level tonight to see if it can remain in play for buyers. Now today, other than what has been going on the cryptos, we've seen the 10-year yield rises above the Bank of Japan's 0.5% ceiling once again, and the flash Tokyo CPI, excluding food, came in at 3.3%, estimated at 3.3, and the previous was 4.3. So the new governor-elect coming into the Bank of Japan, so they're still going to continue to support policy and prices. So there hasn't been too many shake-ups of the yen, but we did see a nice, earlier in the week, we did see a nice fight back from risk to the yen, and that was after some comments. It was a bit choppy week, but still a strong week, and we did have that one-day decline before things just got back on track, and the pound really did continue to push nice and high. We did see previously 165.99, and discontinuing this trend here. We have had a pullback though, but we'll need to see now, again like with the pound, if this short-term support does come into play, and if we can see this turn into a bit of a rally. The trend does still remain up, and the Aussie, which has had a pretty interesting week, we'll go to the Aussie shortly. We are seeing price testing resistance here today, and if it does break and continue higher, we'd like to see if it can retest this area here, which is getting into sort of key resistance area, anywhere from that 93 area. Really, we'd like to see if buyers can get back up there to try and test and break. Now, with the Australian dollar, we had Australian CPI miss expectations. It came in at 7.4%. It was forecast at 8.1%. Now, the Aussie had a very interesting reaction to this. So we'll just quickly switch over to the daily just so we can have a better look at it. So we did see a pretty fast decline that threatened to break out, but that quickly turned around and it was just here. So we had this real sharp move down. It looked like it was going to try and break out again and fill a continuation of this buy here. But it stopped very quickly and we saw a reversal, and then we saw a rally after that. But then that was sort of cut away by US dollar strength. So later in the week before last night's session. So it was an interesting response. I think a lot of traders are thinking that the interest rate, while inflation was lower than expected, it's still a very high high position at just above 7%. So interest rates are still expected to go up. I think they're forecast for a 0.25 increase. I think next week. We'll have a look at that shortly, but for the next meeting. So I think the market still thinks that inflation isn't under control in Australia. We're going to continue to see the cycle continue onwards, and I think they'll be watching. I think the next CPI data will be quite important to see if this is actually a trend or just a one-off mini reversal. So I think a bit of attention on the next CPI data for Australia just to get a strong sense. And if that is going to put some pressure on the RBA and maybe change some of their policy that they've had recently. They've been under pressure as well publicly and politically. There's a bit of pressure on the central bank governor, and we'll see if the next comments from them. But rates, from what I heard, are expected to go up next meeting. So the Aussie still, even though we've seen all that movement, it really isn't doing much. We've had that decline. It's still sitting pretty range bound, and even if we do have a small push up, we still remain in this downtrend. It's around roughly 25% to 38.1% of Fibonacci sort of area, and if it can get down to that 50% point of the previous rally, anything below that would probably start to be a bit of an issue. Now stocks, we will have a look. So it's been a interesting week as well for the US 30. We saw a couple of declines during the week. Then we saw a reversal, and we saw yesterday, after a push lower, we saw the market just come back and turn things around and close higher. And this was seen on the US 30 and on the Nasdaq and on the S&P. So we'll continue with the NDX 100. We'll keep an eye on this level here at 11,935. It's starting to look like short-term support there. We had that key push down, but it's really started to slow up here. We're not seeing much fluency now, and it looks like there's a consolidation going on here. So if buyers can break this level, that would be a positive. But if we do see another test and break, push lower down to this area, that would be a worry. Two buyers from sellers trying to regain control. And some of the European indexes, we continue to see attempted breakouts which have been failing, and moving averages are really just trending sideways, and that's reflective by this price range here. Gold as well this week, and it's been mainly stronger after a few declines on the previous week. We've seen a pretty good rally up. This is the resistance we're watching here. I would like to see if 1842.53 can be broken and closed above. If it can, we'll look to see what buyers do if they can get back up to this level here to test up here. So we are running out of time a little bit, and I just want to touch on cryptocurrencies. Sorry, I just banged my elbow. So Bitcoin, you'll notice Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of other coins today had a very sharp sell-off. Now, this was earlier today in the Asian session, and we can see that 4-hour bar there. We'll just have a look here. So we can see it was just on the 3 o'clock bar, so it was a couple hours ago now, but it was a very quick sell-off, and this comes down to Silvergate Bank. Now, there has been, obviously there's a lot of fears in the crypto market at the moment with obviously regulation, the health of players, industry members, the health and capital health of brokers, exchanges. So anyway, I think you get the point. So the issue here is a lot of these companies have been doing business with Silvergate Bank. Now they've been doing clearing and other business practices, and there's been questions being raised from external auditors that are working with the bank, and that's caused a lot of concern, and that concern can be seen right here as the market comes down. Now also Silverbank delaying I think it's a 10K report, and that's why they continue to answer questions from auditors and accounting services, and this could also attract the attention of the State Department as well that I was reading. So if I got that wrong, please correct me. But the aftermath of this has been a lot of fear, and all the key players are pulled out. From what I read, only Kraken is still doing business with Silvergate Bank, and all other major players are either pulling out or have stopped doing business with them. So this is, obviously we've seen quite a few of these major scares in 2022. I don't think the reaction is unwarranted. We've seen a pretty nice build-up on coins lately, and we've seen some of these recoveries. And it doesn't really strike me at all as surprising that if something is going down, people want to get out, because you can just see down here, especially these areas here where we had these key plunges where people were caught. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But what I'm thinking and hoping now is this isn't a repeat of one of these areas here, and that we will see hopefully some stability coming back into the market. It has been a bit of a mini contagion today, so obviously you can see here on the prices here, there's a lot of red. There's a few big numbers, so there's an 8% down here on AXS. We're seeing -6 on Doge, and we're seeing -6 on Avalanche, and we're seeing Solana down 5.5, and we're seeing VET down 7%. ICP down 8.2. So there is a lot of selling going on, and there's a lot of fear. So hopefully we'll get some more answers on this story as it continues to develop, and we will see some good news that sort of puts in the bottom or helps to stabilize the market. So obviously crypto's been dealing with a few things like US inflation and the dollar and its own industry issues for over 12 months now. So we would like to see, if this, hopefully, fingers crossed, this doesn't turn into anything really crazy, and that we continue to see this rally hold firm, and maybe even continue to trade onwards. So we'll have to give it some time and just see how developments come out. But yeah, so won't go on too much and on about that, but that's definitely what's one of the key ones today, what's been going on. So otherwise than that, it's been a pretty decent day. We're seeing risk currencies higher to the yen and to the dollar. Stock futures slightly lower at this stage after gains yesterday, and the ASX is also trading higher after positive leads from the US. So next week we'll just have a look at some of the keys next week coming out, and just get that up in front of me. We do have a new calendar through Eightcap, so I'll start putting that into these videos from Monday, hopefully from Monday, and we'll be able to run over that, and just any clients will be able to have access to that through the client portal. So we have Swiss CPI on Monday. Tuesday is going to be pretty interesting. We have the cash rate and the RBA statement. So I think the statement will be one definitely to dissect, and then we have Fed Chair Powell testifying on 2 AM on Wednesday, which should be another good one, just after all this recent higher than expected inflation data. Now, further on in the week, we have ADP non-farm employment change, so obviously that means we have NFPs to come next week. We have Canadian interest rate decisions, and Fed Chair Powell testifies again on Thursday at 2 AM Australian Eastern Time, and then on Friday we have the Japanese Central Bank's monetary policy statement, and we have GDP out of the UK, and I think rates are not expected to change or even budge from Japan. But I think the statement will be interesting to see if there's anything new from the incoming governor. So also as well, Saturday we have employment data. So being so we have Canadian employment and unemployment, and then we have the US average hourly earnings, non-farm employment, and unemployment rates. So it's going to be a big week next week. So, and we could get some answers, and it will be interesting, especially from the RBA and from comments from the Fed. So hopefully we get something of a bit of substance, and but we will just have to wait and see. But the RBA, I think, could be a good one, and then yeah, obviously that jobs data as well. I'll just see if they don't have any figures forecast yet. But the jobs data, yeah, if it comes in much hotter than expected, once again, that could continue to cause some issues. So it'll be, yeah, we have a couple good ones coming up next week, which could spice up the week a bit. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for your time, and if you enjoy our content, please feel free to subscribe. Obviously, if you are subscribed, you'd see we really mix it up during the week with a lot of different analysts, and yeah, we try and keep everything fresh from new perspectives, just to try and make it as interesting as possible. So enjoy your weekend. If you are in crypto at the moment, let's just see if we can get a bit of a peaceful resolution out of this, and we'll just see how the updates progress, and we'll see what the outcomes are as they come out. So again, thank you again for your time. Wish you all the best of your trading for the rest of the week, and bye for now.